Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Mining community, welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Tim Moody, who's the president and CEO of Pan Global Resources, who are a Vancouver-based junior resources company, actively engaged and focused on the discovery of assets and commodities of like copper, tin, and other metal exploration in Spain. Tim has over 30 years industry experience, with much of his career with Rio Tino, in such roles as exploration director and vice president and director of business development for the company. And company holds a few directorships of boards in three different mining companies. So Tim's on the podcast today to give us an overview of Pan Global Resources and what mining is like in Spain, and obviously tell us a little bit about some of the projects that they're working on. So that's welcome, Tim, to the podcast. How you doing, Tim?
Very good, Rob. Thanks for the introduction.
No worries. Appreciate your time as well. Obviously, we met at a conference a few months ago, and I was obviously keen to get you onto the podcast because from memory, I don't think we've, or may have had, but we don't have many companies that are mining in Spain. So that's why, obviously, I wanted you to come on and tell us what you're doing. So, as we always start this podcast off, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career before we start talking about Pan Global.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually probably been in the mining industry for, over 40 years. I began when I was about 16. When I left,
I gave you a few less years.
That's fine. Yeah. So, I've as you mentioned, I was 24 years with Rio Tinto, and then after I left Rio Tinto, I then joined the board of a couple of companies and started my own private company with a couple of things in Spain, which I then vended into Pan Global, and they subsequently asked if I would join the company as their CEO. So that's where I got involved with Pan Global. So I guess some of the relevant experience or background. I'm a geologist and geophysicist, but 18 years of my time with Rio Tinto were in exploration. I was exploration director. I had global roles, sort of worked in many parts of the world. Made a few discoveries along the way, including a period in Spain and Portugal when I was asked to come and run the exploration after the Rio Tinto discovered the Las Cruces deposit, so just north of Seville. So I lived in Spain, ran the exploration in Spain and Portugal, mainly focused on this sort of famous mineral belt called the Iberian Pyrite Belt. My team found another perhaps 2 or 3 massive sulfide deposits, one of which has already been mined. I have some relevant background for the area where Pan Global is now focused. After I sort of moved from exploration in Rio Tinto, then went into business development, so sort of large M&A and sort of public market transactions, bit of corporate strategy, that sort of thing. So here I am now with Pan Global. I've been with the company 5 or 6 years now, and the first target we tested was a discovery. So here we are.
That's good to hear. So I just wondered if you can give us an overview of the company. Yep. Obviously Pan Global Resources.
Yeah, so Pan Global is, as you said, we're listed in Canada in the Ventures Exchange. We're also on the QB in the US as well. We've focused on copper exploration in Spain primarily, but we will look at other things. We do have some other metals with our project, and we have two projects currently, but our main project and focus of exploration at the moment is in southern Spain in the Iberian Pirate Belt, as I mentioned. So we've made a new copper, tin, silver discovery. It's still pre-resource, but it is quite advanced. We've got over 150 drill holes into that discovery, but we also have a lot of other targets, as well as plenty of potential to grow the discovery that we've already made. So, we've got a pretty exciting project on our hands. The discovery is going to grow, as I said. We're well funded. We have a pretty big exploration program underway already, 20,000 metre drill program, etc. So, there's a lot to look forward to for investors in the company.
Well, obviously you mentioned that you're in southern Spain. What's that like as a mining jurisdiction? And also, how's the permitting process in that area?
Yeah, so this is a question I often get, and particularly from the North American investors and so on, who perhaps are less familiar with Europe or Spain in particular. But look, Spain, and particularly the Iberian Pirate Belt, has a very long mining history. In fact, they've been mining more or less continuously for 3,500 years in the Iberian Pirate Belt. It is a sort of famous mineral belt. It's got more of these sort of what they call supergiant volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits than any other VMS district anywhere in the world. So, it's a pretty prolific mining district. There's 7 big operating mines in the area today, with big companies like Lundin, First Quantum, Sandfire, who's bought 3 mines for 1.89 billion a couple of years ago. So, it is a very active mining area, and permitting it's very good. This is a mining-friendly area of Spain, and I think one of the best areas to be exploring in the world currently. You can get things permitted pretty quickly compared to just about anywhere else in the world. It's a great area to be in.
Why don't you just give us an update on the project and what stage you're at?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've been very much focused on our initial discovery, which is called La Romana. It's within our Escacena project area. It's about a 5,700 hectare area. We've drilled, I think we started hole number 159 this week. We've got this. It's not at resource. We haven't published a resource yet, but we could publish a resource today if we wanted. But we've really held back until we know how big the discovery is. So we think it could grow a lot from where it is at the moment. In fact, we just announced a couple of weeks ago the access to a big farm that's given us, let's say, the extension and the access to test the area where we think the deposit or the discovery could grow. So that was only 2 weeks ago. So I'm pretty optimistic that this year we can drill off that western extension. We could see potential to add another 1,000 metres on top of the 1.2 kilometres of sort of strike length that we've already defined. We can do that this year, and then look to put a resource out sometime in the first half of next year.
And what are your, I suppose, sort of near-term and longer-term plans for the actual project? Are you looking to maybe move into construction and production?
Good question. So at this stage, our near-term plans are to, as I say, drill off that western extension of our discovery. It's already got it looks like it's got some pretty significant size as it stands. As I mentioned, we've drilled about 1.2 kilometres of near surface copper mineralised, copper, tin and silver mineralisation. It's very simple geometry, etc. As I say, it looks to be very well suited for an open pit. So the plans are to drill that western extension and then look to put out a resource. in terms, we then look to put it into look for a mining permit potentially. We'll complete a PEA before that, and then look to we could take this project all the way to production. We've certainly got a very experienced board with mine builders, mine finders, and our team on the ground includes 2 mining engineers, 8 geologists, and so on. The general manager's got experience with taking projects from pre-resource through to production. He's in Spain and knows the permitting system very well. So look, we could take the project all the way to production, we'll see how we go. We'll put the resource out first.
Yeah. I wonder if you just tell us about the recent metallurgy results the company have announced.
Yeah, I'm glad you've asked that. The metallurgy results, which we put out about sort of 3 or 4 weeks ago, these are what they called lock cycle tests. These are the sort of on the copper mineralisation, and these are the sort of detailed tests that best simulate what you might get in a commercial operation. So these are sort of quite important metallurgical test results. So what they've shown is we've got really excellent copper recovery, producing a very clean, high-grade concentrate, and that's compared to other mines in the belt, and it seems to be much better than certainly compares very favourably to the other mines in the area. But more importantly, it seems to be coarser grain. So the tests have shown that what they call the P80, which is the grind size, starts at about 106 microns. That compares with the P80s of some of the other mines of, say, 10 to 20 microns. So that's a big deal. That means that translates into grinding energy, and energy makes up a very big portion of the operating costs of these mines. So if you have to grind the material less, that's a potentially big, important cost saving. So, we don't have any deleterious minerals to worry about. It looks like we might get a payable silver amount from the copper concentrate. So those results were really good, particularly when you compare to the other operations in the district. So potentially highly desirable by those other operators in the area, and should travel well.
Yeah, and obviously talking about the local area and the local region, and the other, why don't you just tell us about some of the other mining companies that are operating pretty close by, and also the infrastructure around your project?
Yeah. I should have added to the metallurgy that we're also undertaking the tin metallurgy at the moment. Those test results will be out hopefully in about 2 or 3 months. It's all cassiterite mineralisation, so that's very favourable. It gives us a real opportunity to recover the tin as well. So watch out for that as well. So in terms of the location and sort of infrastructure and so on, look, we're surrounded by some other operations and development projects. Just about 20 kilometres to the west of us is Atalaya mining, the sort of big open pit mine for copper. That's probably the world's largest VMS deposit in the world. They currently have about 200 million tonnes of reserves for the open pit. They mine using pretty low cutoff, and I think the reserve grade's about 0.39% copper. So it shows you what can be done in this area. And it's something that we can reference as well in terms of mining costs, etc. for our project. Right next door to us is are 2 old open pits that were previously operated by Boliden. Now, Grupo Mexico have that area, and they're looking to recommence construction, mining beneath and go underground beneath the Los Frailes pit. The expectation is that they're going to begin construction sometime this year. They're just waiting for one more permit, as we understand it. So the edge of one of those pits is 600 metres from our property boundary, so really close. So that development will bring more infrastructure into the area as well, hopefully. And then about 12 kilometres to the east of our property boundary, First Quantum are mining the Las Cruces deposit. That was one of the world's highest grade open pit copper mines anywhere. So they're now looking to finish the open pit, now looking to go underground. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what their decision is, whether they proceed with that. My understanding is they're already fully funded. So if you expand a bit beyond that, within about a 40-kilometre radius, there are at least another three mines, the three mines that are being operated by Sandfire. So we're surrounded by mines. There's lots of infrastructure. We've got sealed road access to the property. Freeport has a smelter about 70 kilometres away. So this is more like a brownfield project, even though it's a greenfields discovery.
Yeah. And what would you say is unique about mining in Spain to maybe some other jurisdictions that you've been involved in, and maybe other jurisdictions in Europe? What would you say is unique about mining in Spain?
Yeah, well, I think perhaps more specifically where we are located in Spain, because different parts of Spain, people have different experiences, but where we are, because there is such a long mining history, people are used to it. The nearest town to us is built on the edge of an open pit. There's a sort of generations probably of families that have worked in the mining industry. So that's a big difference to, say, many other parts of the world where there isn't that sort of history to lean on. I mentioned the permitting. I get asked a lot about permitting, and it's a big question anywhere in the world, not just Spain. But I think there's a real advantage here in Spain. There's one of the examples I point to of a fast permitting example, let's say, was the Matsa joint venture. This was the Trafigura Mubadala joint venture that now is owned by Sandfire. They discovered a deposit called the Magdalena deposit in the same belt we're working in 2012. They drilled their first hole. That was put into production in 2015. So that is very quick by any standards. So to take from discovery through to production, that became a sort of 40 million tonne plus deposit. So there's an example if you need it to show how quickly things can be done. But I think another development is that copper has been added to the list of critical minerals in Europe. So one of the potential benefits of that is, at least our understanding is that what they're looking at in Spain is whereas previously you'd have to get permits from two ministries, they're looking to potentially put that under one roof. So, that would streamline the permitting process even further. So, I think that's something that really it puts Spain at an advantage, at least where we're operating. I could go on, but that probably just gives you a bit of a taste.
Yeah, I was just going to carry on to say, obviously the mining regulations in Spain seem very favourable. Is there any other anything else about the mining regulations that's going to be very positive for any mining companies looking to move into Spain or already existing in Spain?
Yeah, well, I think because there is a mining history here, then that's a big advantage. It's not to say that they skip any of the normal processes, environmental permitting, and all that sort of thing. You've got to do all of that work well also, and sometimes things can be a bit bureaucratic. But again, nothing out of the ordinary, and I think. Those people looking at, and in fact, we know there's been an increase in exploration activity in Spain in the last couple of years that, it's a favourable mining area. Another thing I saw just recently is the Fraser Institute report. And Spain's really sort of jumped up significantly in terms of its ranking from where it was. So, sitting right down there at the bottom at one stage, but now it's really jumped much higher. And I think we'll see it move further up the list in terms of favourability and, as a destination for companies to explore.
Yeah. So let's go back to Pan Global. What's the, I suppose, financial situation of the company? What are your budgets and plans and funding for the remainder of this year?
Yeah, so at the end of last year, we had about 10.2 million in the bank. At the end of the January, which is the end of the Canadian financial year, we had about 8.9 million, I think it was, and our budget for this year was about 8.5 million Canadian. So we are fully funded for the year, and the plans included provision for about 20,000 metres of drilling. So the focus really is on the Laramana discovery and expanding that, but also the plan is to continue to test some of the sort of many other targets we've got in our property, and we've got a dozen or more of big targets within our Escasena project, not to forget our other project as well. So we are target rich. So I think two things that really could make a difference for the company is, one, we prove that western extension of our discovery and significantly grow that potential deposit, and secondly is to make another discovery. I mean, that would be a real step change for the company, and I think that's really what's also been attracting the interest from our investors.
And also, I suppose, looking at the management team, you briefly mentioned the management team. Just wondering if you can just tell us who is in the executive management team.
Yeah, well, I guess firstly on the board, we've got people like Patrick Downey, who's CEO of Orezone. He's built mines before. He's well known in the industry, very well regarded. Patrick Evans, also big company background. He's currently the chairman of the company. He's very well known, very well respected. I think he's sold 7 of the companies he's been involved with, so that's some measure of success. Bob Parsons, 35 years, head of natural resources for PwC. When we've just taken on Corinne Smith, who's with Newmont, who brings a lot of sort of metal marketing and public market experience to the board as well. So that's sort of more the board. We've got not to forget Brian Kersner as well, who's been financing junior companies for a long period of time. And then our team, our management team, we've got, again, very deep experience. My own background, which you mentioned before, but the VP of Exploration, Jim Royal, used to work for me in Rio Tinto. He's got 25 years or so of experience. He lives in Spain, worked internationally as well, very experienced, and a lot of experience in the geology team as well. And I mentioned the 2 mining engineers. So, it's a pretty good team for a junior company. Still at pre-resource stage. It just shows that when the time comes, we could take this all the way through to production.
Yes, certainly. And what should investors be watching out for, and the news flow that you put out there?
Yeah, so I think I summarise this probably 5 or 6 sort of major catalysts that I see going forward. I mentioned the land access that we got access to this big farm just a couple of weeks ago. That we saw that as a sort of important catalyst for us. But there is also another area just to the east of our discovery, which has a very big target on it as well. So I think getting access to that high priority gravity anomaly looks very similar to our Laramana discovery. when we get that access, that should be a pretty important catalyst for us as well. I think now that we've got access to that western area, an additional catalyst will be the drill results that follow from that. And hopefully we can confirm that copper mineralisation continues in that target. So, there's a lot of news flow to come from that, obviously. Then there's the drilling on, the many other targets that we've got. So at any time we could make another discovery. That would be a really important catalyst for us. What else? There's the metallurgy test work. We've already got the first part of that with the copper results, which I mentioned were pretty good. But we've got the tin metallurgy to come and the variability test. So that's something to look out for in the next sort of 2 to 3 months. And then there's just the ongoing exploration that we've got that will generate additional use flow. Looking a bit further out, if everything goes well, we complete the drilling on the western extension of La Romana, then we could be looking at putting out a resource sometime in the first half of next year, and I think that could also be a good sort of catalyst for the price in the new year.
Yeah. Why should investors sort of own Pan Global Resources stock, and why should they follow your story?
Yeah, well, I think having a copper deposit or copper discovery, something that could potentially be brought into production within the near term, next 5 to 10 years, say, when copper prices are expected to be sort of, really skyrocketing. At least that's the hope, is that, copper prices are going to have to increase if the world's going to meet the demand, supply the copper that the world's going to need for the green transition, let's say the carbon zero future that we're looking for. So having a copper deposit in Europe, I think, gives a big advantage. And as I say, something with near-term development potential in this region where copper is already recognised as a critical metal. Add to that we've already got something significant. Even, we're very close to putting out a resource. So again, we've got something there that sort of, if you like, is sort of de-risked the company somewhat. We've got something to backstop the value, if you like. But lots of upside on that discovery. As mentioned, we can potentially nearly double the strike length of it. And, the prospects of additional discoveries as well. Add to that, the discovery we've got, it's very simple geometry. It's got favourable metallurgy. Lots of things. If you start to look at the checklist of what you'd want for a new mining project, we tick most of those boxes. I think the prospects of us having a significant new copper discovery, something with near-term production potential, and the very strong potential to make additional discoveries are reasons why I think investors should really take a look at Pan Global if you're not already an investor. But if you are, why you should stay and follow the story, because I think we're in for a pretty exciting time ahead of us.
Yeah, certainly. And concluding, what's the outlook for the remainder of the year going into next year? And is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, look, I think I've probably covered it. We should have some results coming out soon for a target that we've just finished drilling at, called Cañada Honda. That looks a really interesting target. So hopefully there'll be some news out in the next few days on that. But then we've got drill results to come from 2 other targets. We've been perhaps more than 20 drill holes that we should be reporting for a target called Sarcita, big target as well. And we've got ongoing drilling at our La Romana discovery. We should have another batch of results from that soon as well. I mentioned the tin metallurgy results. They're probably a couple of months away, but that's something else to look forward to. But I'm really excited about this Romana West target where we're drilling as well. And we've already got teams on the ground there 3 geophysics crews doing gravity and IP and all that sort of thing. And drilling should start maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time on that. So there's a lot of news that will come from that as we sort of hopefully show and the copper continues in that direction. So I think that probably covers it. There's, you can see I'm pretty excited and pumped about the potential that we've got ahead of us. It's a pretty exciting period ahead.
Yeah, Tim, really appreciate your time. It seems obviously you've got so much going for you. You're in a great jurisdiction that I suppose many of our listeners may not know too much about mining in Spain, and you've sort of covered how beneficial and how pro mining the country is, and obviously with a long history, very long history. And like you said, you're in a great jurisdiction and great region, surrounded by other mining companies that are doing great things. So really wish you all the best for the remainder of the year, and perhaps you want to come on next year and give us an update.
Yeah, I look forward to that, Rob. Thanks very much.
No worries. And also, if our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions or want to follow your story and your progress, how can they go about doing that? Are you on social media platforms at all?
Yes, we are. So you can check our website, panglobalresources.com. But we're also we post regularly on everything, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. So you could contact. Just check our website. There's contact details there. You can register to get on our shareholder list, our information list, and receive updates as well. So
and we'll include those in the show notes, accompanies as well, for easy access, so they can reach out to you and obviously follow Pan Global Resources story. So as I mentioned, really appreciate your time. All the best for the remainder of the year. And for those that are listening, hope you enjoyed that episode. Obviously, Spain looks a very good and exciting jurisdiction to do mining in. So appreciate if you can share this episode to others within the mining industry. As I've always say now, if you can also pass this message on to or share this episode with people also outside of the mining industry who may be looking to invest, who may and I suppose educate people outside of the mining industry. And as I keep asking and requesting, to obviously improve the branding of mining, it has to be done through education. And when we get guests on like Tim that are explaining what they're doing in their projects and what they're looking to achieve, we're only going to improve the image of mining and the brand of mining through sharing these episodes with people outside of the industry. So really appreciate your continued support. And until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes, and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.